Welcome back in to another episode of the Grunge Bible podcast. This is episode number 164, coming out on May 13th, 2024, one day after Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all of the moms out there. My name is Chris Salona, and I'm here with Ethan Shalloway.
Yes, another very important episode we have on the docket today, and yeah, what a pleasant surprise! What a beautiful episode we have. I'm very happy we did this.
Yeah,
the family dynamics and family matters is strong in our lives right now, and I can't be more happy about it.
Absolutely. So with it being Mother's Day, Mother's Day holiday just recently occurring here, we thought it'd be a great idea to have a mom on, and I got the first crack at it. And today we welcome my own mother, Carlene Salona, also top tier Patreon supporter, Carlene Salona, to the show. And this is something that I wanted to do last year on the podcast, but we just kind of lost track of time and the scheduling didn't work out, as it often doesn't. But all signs pointed to it working out for this year. And we were able to have my mom on the podcast, which was really cool. This was so much fun to do, and it was really fun because it was just an extension of conversations similar to what I have with her all the time. So I was really grateful that she was willing to come on the podcast. Her first podcast guest appearance, I think. I'll have to verify that, but what a joy. I love my mom. She's the best, and we got to chat with her for an hour about, raising families, being a mom, the importance of family, some funny stories that the viewers or listeners could use to make fun of me or look down upon me. We really had it all with this chat.
Yeah, it's a special opportunity that I'm glad that we have a space to do something like this, and one of the other podcasts that I listen to, a sports podcast, and they're from Boston, and every time he's a big Bruins fan, and every time the Bruins are losing or the Celtics, if it's like, let's bring in my dad to talk about the Boston sports, and you get to hear him complain about everything and the coaches and Joe Maz, and it's always just like can't wait for the last 45 minutes for the old Boston father to complain about Boston sports, even though they're both in the postseason right now, which is good. And you're wearing your Boston, and your mom was wearing Boston green. I wanted to bring that up. I said it's a big weekend for sports.
Absolutely, it is. My Bruins are struggling a little bit. At this time, Game 4 against Florida hasn't been played, but by the time this comes out, hopefully the Bruins will have tied up the series at 2-2, and the Celts will take a 2-1 advantage tonight. We're recording this on the 11th, so hopefully we can see to it that happens.
And Boston swept them and swept the Florida in the regular season.
Yeah,
4-0.
They went 4-0.
And then they won the first game. They had a 5-game win streak, and then they just let up like 12 goals.
They just game 2 they were up 1-0 after the first period. They were playing great, and then a couple of mental errors, couple of mistakes in their own end, and the next thing you know, you're chasing 5 goals in Florida. And that's what happens. Things can happen fast, but you just got to be able to adapt and overcome. So hopefully, we've got some eyes towards that. But for the next hour, we've got eyes towards our conversation with my mom. And before we roll the tape on that, we just have a couple of different housekeeping things to go through. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody for tuning in and for everybody who chooses to support us, most notably the people who support us over on Patreon. We've got the 3 tiers there, $2, $5, and $10. It's the most direct way to support the show. My mom is a top tier Patreon supporter, so if you want to follow in her lead, you can go ahead and do that. Additionally, we've got some merchandise that is also linked in the show notes. But more important than any of that, this is the month of May, and May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month. So last week on episode number 163, we had our friend Brooke Muma on, and she is a volunteer with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So we had a really good chat with her last week, and she's raising funds for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and her work in the Philadelphia area with that foundation. So for the entire month of May, we're going to be including the link to her fundraiser in the show notes. If you feel inclined and you're able to help out with a great cause, you can find your way over to that link in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful, how do I say it? Yeah, it would make us really happy. I mean, don't give us money this month. You can send it over there and to Brooke and the CF Foundation. That'll make us all really happy.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so are we gonna do This Day in Music, Chris? I know some random
we're not
stuff
going to run the full thing, but there is one thing
Right.
that is certainly worth mentioning.
A few highlights.
Yeah, a couple highlights. So I'm going to lead in with the biggest one, the biggest occurrence in music history on this day, May 13th. And we're going to roll back really quickly to 1978, and perhaps one of the greatest examples of perseverance in any sort of environment occurred on this day in 1978. Just days after breaking his leg in a softball game, Jimmy Buffett appeared on Saturday Night Live on May 13th, 1978 for the first and only time, and he sang Son of a Sailor with his injured limb propped up on an old boat. A lot of people give props to Dave Grohl and Axl Rose and Lane Staley even for performing in the wheelchair, the previous two in their throne after breaking their legs, but it all started here. Jimmy Buffett putting his body on the line for his softball team, and then being able to carry that through and persevere through the pain to deliver a searing performance of Son of a Sailor. I mean, that's what it's all about right there. So let's honor, the next week in the image of that perseverance of the great Jimmy Buffett.
Well, and softball season has started.
Season has started. I've got one game under my belt. Yeah.
So Chris, when I first read this and I saw that and you said it, what I'm thinking is, so Saturday Night Live is obviously Saturday, so it's a Friday night softball game, and Jim Buffett is there. He's probably drunk or probably something. It's like, and he breaks his leg, or they're like, why are you here? Like, don't you have to do Saturday Night Live? He's like, gotta get the game.
Gotta support the team. gotta play.
The team. And he probably broke it like sliding to second or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And they're just like, what are you gonna do tomorrow? And he's like, I gotta go perform.
He's gotta play. It's just amazing. It builds the lore, though. I mean, that's what he's about. That's what he was about. As we mourn his passing. But yeah, what a great event here. It's important to mention as well that his broken leg, he did have a full recovery and enjoyed many years of health and hopefully softball in the ensuing years after that fateful day in 1978.
That's got to be like your batting practice song, or definitely your walkout song if you ever have an opportunity for that.
We'll just drop tanks in the name of the parrot head.
That's amazing. Okay, and then there's a few birthdays that we'll just quick run through.
Yeah.
We'll just say Stevie Wonder was born in 1950 on May 13th. Dennis the Worm Rodman, it's basketball season in 1961. 1978, Mike Bibby was born. Incredible. And that's it. Now we got to say Darius Rucker.
1966, Darius Rucker was born. The king himself. Perhaps the greatest performance of Interstate Love Song ever was when Hootie and the Blowfish did it, with all due respect to the Stone Temple Pilots. But happy birthday to all of those individuals.
Awesome. So without further ado, please enjoy this wonderful Mother's Day episode with Carlene Salona.
So we are here with unequivocally our most important guest of the entire Grunge Bible podcast franchise. My own mother, the great Carlene Salona, is here for the Mother's Day episode. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Thank you, honey.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Ethan, and please share that with your mom as well.
I will absolutely do that. She will probably listen to this episode. I'll make sure to send it to her. And she'll think that have you guys ever met? I actually was going to text
We
Chris
have
this.
never met, Ethan.
Oh, I cannot wait for the day that you guys get to meet at one of our weddings. Whenever
Yeah,
that'll be.
exactly.
Yes. It came close once. There was a track meet, and I think I was supposed to be there when you guys were at Pittsburgh.
It might have been like ACCs or something, because my mom used to come to ACCs, but I think your parents chose to go to Virginia Challenge that year and maybe not ACCs. So
Almost. We were very close to meeting, which I do look forward to.
we just got to thread the needle one of these times.
That'll be a
We
special
do.
time. That'll be a
Yeah.
special crossover episode for all of us.
Otherwise, we'll have to do a
Absolutely.
road trip or something.
Exactly. It's not too far. Mom, before we get into anything, I have the most important question for you. Of the following four, who is your favorite frontman? Eddie Vedder, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, or Kurt Cobain?
Eddie Vedder.
It's got to be Eddie Vedder, right?
That is the correct answer.
Thank you.
You
Ding,
passed.
ding, ding,
You
ding.
passed the test. I mean, you've been listening to. Well, back when I lived at the house, you probably listened to me on the phone with Ethan for many, many hours. And when we
yes.
started this podcast, I was home too, so you probably had no idea what the hell we were talking about. But
No, but I
nonetheless,
do listen periodically as well.
that's unfortunate.
She was listening to the podcast before they were recorded.
Exactly.
Back
Yeah.
in the day when we just had phone calls.
That's the most
Yes.
special top level Patreon perk. You got the behind the scenes.
Yeah, and you hold the only spot for having a Patreon guest as a interview, correct, Chris? I don't
Yeah,
think
we have
we've
never had any other
we've
top
almost-
level or any Patreon supporter on the podcast.
Wow.
Um,
Ooh, I'm
so-
lucky twice.
And you
Yeah.
were one of the first ones that started supporting us.
Of course.
I don't know why, but
I even have my Grunge Bible t-shirt and my
Oh.
Grunge Bible socks.
that's amazing.
I think you're the only person who's ever purchased the socks.
Yeah, not a fan, guys, but I do have them.
Wow, flaming us in our own podcast space for our merch offerings. Well, we'll have to come out with some new stuff for you, and we can maybe pilot
Yes.
it with you.
That's awesome.
So, this is the Mother's Day episode. Mother's Day is very soon. It's actually tomorrow. We're recording this on Saturday, the 11th, so it'll be out the day after Mother's Day. And I wanted to have you on the podcast last Mother's Day, but you know, there's always a lot of traffic and things can get a little challenging, so we weren't able to make that happen. So, thank you for being open to this. I called you a couple of days ago, and I might have worried you because I was like, Mom, like I have a question, like. And you can, I was like, you can say no. So I don't know what was going through your mind.
Oh,
as
you
to,
always start conversations that way. I sit there panic stricken for about 2 minutes thinking, what is he going to say? What is he going to say? Is he moving? Where's he going?
That's a sign of a good mother.
Yeah, exactly.
My mom does the same thing. Like, I have a question? Like, what do you need? What's the matter?
What do you need? What's wrong? What's happening? What do I need to do for you?
It's like that protector instinct that I think all parents have, and probably like as time goes on, obviously, I mean, you've been a parent for over half of your life now, just about half of your life, because John's 30. And it probably changes over time, right? Just like the concerns of your children as you get older. It's like, oh, I have to make sure that like they're eating their lunch when they go to school, versus now it's like these very, very lofty things. And like, I always think about like, for me, like the process of growing up and everything, but like the one person who's like been through that process with me has been you, because you've raised me and you were my parent. I mean, you've been with me since the beginning. So like kind of from the get-go, like you always wanted to have a family, right? From the time you were growing up, like you wanted to be a mom, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I always wanted to, the dream was, to get married, have children, and have a family and watch you grow up, and then your family grows. And for me, being a mom was super, super exciting. I still love it.
Yeah, that's so it's so wonderful to hear. Do you have a favorite like stretch being a mom, like when the kids are 8 to 12, or did you really enjoy their teenage years, or did you like the college years, or do you like now where you're a little bit more hands off and Chris is they're doing more things for you nowadays? Like what kind of what was your favorite zone, I guess?
I liked, of course, when they were little, when they were both toddling around the house. And then I had to share them with the school system. That was hard because I'd rather just keep them home with me. But when they were in high school, I think from freshman year to senior year of high school is a huge amount of growth to watch your sons and or daughters. Watch your sons, they begin to grow up right before your eyes, They begin to have likes and dislikes, and you can kind of see they're forming. College is tough because, well, you guys go away to school. So we miss out on a lot. parents. But now is very special. Now is very different. Even though I'm here, if Chris or John want advice or want to talk about something or is struggling with something, but there's a friendship bond that's formed where some of the worries that keep you up at night are different now. They're more about who they'll settle down with. Will they have children? Will they get a promotion? Will they be able to afford a house? So it kind of goes from one to the other. I personally was very involved in both kids' lives from when they started school until now. Know all their friends and enjoy being around the friends. So for me, it's been a long ride, but I've enjoyed all of it, even the bad things.
Of which I've probably supplied very many of those over the years. But that's something that I know we talk about all the time. Like, and Ethan, like you probably have a similar parallel with your parents and with your mom. Like when you're a child, if you're obedient and respectful of your parents, it's kind of like a one-way street. It's like the parents decide things and like instill values on you and just kind of make decisions for you. But as you get older, it kind of becomes a relationship of peers almost, where it's like, I can come to you for advice or I could come to you for your opinions on things, but I don't necessarily have to act in that image and in those decisions. And that's a process I think that changes, like you said, Mom, as like your kids get older, right? And it's like they're free to kind of like have their own path and make their own choices, and you kind of have to like step back and be like, okay, like this is what they're going to do. Was that difficult for you? Because I can't imagine. I mean, you spend, the first 18, 21 years of being a mom to your child, like, wanting to make sure that everything is good to go. And like, obviously probably having better instincts than like a 14-year-old kid. And, you reach the point where like your kids are able to kind of make their own decisions and you kind of have to take that step back. Was that a challenge for you?
Yes, for me it was, because I was so involved in everything that I had to consciously remind myself to take the hands off the wheel a little bit and trust that you were brought up the proper way and would find your way and would be safe doing it. So you kind of almost have to do a hands off. You may not agree with everything, but you're still navigating, but from a distance. That was hard for me because I was so involved, as you know.
Right.
I was so involved. And like I was saying, when you went away to college, which I encouraged both of you to go away, although you went outside my line that I drew on the map.
Well, your line was like New England. I mean, John went outside of it too, but I really stretched it going to Iowa.
Yeah, you pushed the envelope. Yeah. But I think that you just, as a parent, you have to trust that you've given the foundation. And you also have to back off a little bit so that you as an individual can find out what it is that makes you tick. What are you passionate about? And if you hover too much, you suffocate that, because then my likes and dislikes become yours. And that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Just kind of like taking too much ownership.
My mom is the same way. She loves being involved and offering advice, and she's a saint. Like, she's just the best. And all my friends have great things to say about her. And when I go home, when I come home in the last 10 years, because I've lived away for a while now, she'll always start talking, giving me advice, and then she'll be like, I got to put my foot in my mouth. Like, you're an adult. You need to do what you need to do. But she always starts and offers her advice, and then she says sorry, and she's like, I'm not trying, and says that she's sorry. And I'm like, Mom, like, I'm okay. Like, please give me your advice. Like, I never want you to stop doing that. I'd rather that than having to go and ask you all the time. Like, it's just nice to know that she still cares so much. And
it's true. I'm sure your mom is just like me. You want so much for your sons to do well for themselves, but because we love and adore and support everything you do, we also have to remind ourselves to let go a little bit from time to time, because I have to do that with both of them. And I'm sure that your mom does the same thing.
Yeah, she definitely does. And you mentioned, and one of the questions I wrote down, which I find interesting, is, how when Chris and John were growing up, like, how did you direct and encourage your kids to find their hobbies and to find their interests? Like you said, you don't want to like direct them too much. But as we've talked about a lot, like, you know, the childhood has such an effect on your life as adults and how you conduct yourself. And so it's interesting, like, you know, there are probably, moms know best. So like when they're telling you to do something and they're dropping you off at sports when you're, six years old, you know, you don't know anything as a kid, you can't make those decisions. So was it tough kind of like deciding, you know, like, all right, we're going to try this out with the boys and see if they like it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's moms who say that moms know best. We created that mantra. So,
well, I haven't found any evidence to the contrary. So
we're human. We make mistakes too. So, and that's a good thing too. But yes, Ethan. So when John and Chris were young, if they wanted to do something, I always allowed them to do it. They wanted to play baseball. They wanted to play soccer. They wanted to play football, whatever it was. My older son, John, wanted to go into Cub Scouts, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I always encourage them to do it. The only thing was, if you sign up, you finish. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go back, but you finish.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me, that was really good because it gave them a chance to experience something. So I always let them run with whatever they wanted to run with for however many years until they would come home. Like Christopher came home with soccer and said, I don't want to play soccer anymore. And I'm like, okay,
good choice.
You finish out the season and we move on to something different. But it's hard. It's a hard balance. But I really think it's important that all of you develop your own identity. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think it's a lot when you send your kids away to school too.
Right.
But it's very important because if you only allow a child to do the things that you think are safe or you think are good for the child, then how would you ever know if there was something else there? Like when John came home from high school and said, I'm not going to play baseball, I'm going to throw the hammer. I had no idea what that was. None. Never heard of it.
Right.
But he seemed excited about it, so we let him do it, you know? So, and with every child, it's different. Yeah. It's very different.
It's interesting too, because like that ability to kind of be okay with like your kids choosing for themselves what they want to be interested in, what they want to try out. I mean, like, you get into like the butterfly effect, it's like you gave John the rope to explore those interests and he passed them on to me, and my life would be dramatically different if I never did track and field. I mean, Ethan, I wouldn't know you if I didn't do track and field. And so I guess thank you, Mom. The entire Grunge Bible wouldn't exist without you. Yeah. I mean, it's fun, like in a way, like, I mean, that's how, like, I think as a parent too, like you don't realize the positive and negative ramifications of experiences and of decisions, sometimes until years afterwards. And there's probably a lot of reflection that goes into that. And maybe as a parent too, we're both families of boys. Like Ethan, you have two brothers and I have one brother, no sisters in the mix. And it's just kind of one of those things that like you probably, it takes time to kind of just like see where the road is going to lead, and that's got to be equal parts exciting and also a little scary.
It is, but it's important because the part that goes along with that is the child is not going to be good at everything that they want to do. Yeah. So as a parent, if you say, well, they're not doing good, so I'm going to pull them off that team and let them go do something else, you don't teach them a very important lesson for the rest of their life is you're not going to be good at everything you do. And that also helps you find your interests and what you might want to pursue longer and hang up the cleats in something else, So it's really important. But Ethan, I think your mom probably takes great satisfaction. I always tell everyone I apparently was meant to be a boy mom. So very proud of being a boy mom, and your mom raised 3. So
yeah, she loves having all boys, especially now. And Quinn has 2 daughters, so she has granddaughters. So she is in heaven now because
Yes.
she got the girls she always wanted, and the girls are taking over the Shalloways again.
Oh yeah.
So,
Of course.
yeah.
And
And
now
she
she's got
has
two
a
daughters-in-law too now.
Yes, that's wonderful. So your mom and I will patiently wait for you and Christopher to travel down that road now that Elijah has.
I know. Yep, we're all patiently waiting.
It's funny. I'm by trade, and I don't think Ethan, you are a patient person either. I certainly am not. But showing remarkable patience, we are with that with that process.
The patient ram, I've heard, gets
Exactly gets the ham
Yes.
all in due time. And it's interesting. Like, we both come from families where we have. Ethan, you have an older sibling and a younger sibling, and I have an older sibling. And Mom, would you say that like your parenting style was kind of like locked in from the time that you had John, where you kind of had an idea of like what type of parent you wanted to be? And like, did you have to alter that as you gained experience as actually being a parent? Or I suppose as well, like how much of your own experience being a kid and being raised by Nana and Papa, for example, like how much did that impact like the choices that you made in terms of how you wanted to parent?
Yeah, I think some of it did. When I was growing up, my mother and father always encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I played sports too. And my brother did too. So some of that I learned from watching my parents years later parent me and looking back and reflecting upon the things that I did and didn't do. For me personally, John obviously was the oldest, even though for a long time you used to tell everyone you were born first.
Doesn't make any sense, but I held
No,
to
it doesn't. But that was your mantra. You stuck with it. We allowed you to do that.
That's hilarious.
You guys are very different. You have similarities together. You have the same core values and the same belief system, the same compassion and empathy for people that you were raised to have. But your personalities are different. You have absolutely no patience with many things. So, parenting John, who was more of a quieter thinker, internal guy, and then he never really wanted to go out a lot, for instance, when he was in high school and even grammar school. And then you came along and you're a social guy. So I had to readjust and figure out how to parent you to allow you some freedom to spread your wings a little bit, but you weren't old enough to do some of the things you wanted to do. So it kind of ebbs and flows as the years go through and your personality developed, John's personality developed. I knew when I was carrying John that when I had children, I knew that I wanted to be on hand. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to know your friends. I wanted to be able to talk to your friends just like, you did, know their parents. I wanted to create a circle, and I knew that I wanted to do that. And I knew that that would, as you got older, that would be a priority for myself. And I really wanted to instill in both of you that you only grow through experiences, good or bad. If you stay the same and do the same and be the same and don't take any chances in life or have hopes and dreams that might seem a little far-fetched, then you're never really going to build confidence in yourself and go out there and achieve what you truly are put on this earth to do. So I always knew that I would encourage you, for instance, to go away to college.
Mm-hmm.
And that was difficult for our family to afford to send you away to school and your brother away to school. But it was so important for you to get out there and meet new people and have new experiences and test yourself. And look, you met Ethan.
Exactly. And here we are. Now we get to talk about music every week, whether we want to or not.
I think you boys talk a lot more about than just music.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, my mom and maybe both my mom and dad say the same thing. But when I go home, like the house is busy and friends are over, and my mom just like is so happy that the house is full again, and she loves seeing the friends that she watched grow up with me, and those relationships. And my brother just got married last week, and there were there were friends of his, and then their parents were also there that helped raise them as well, the second households. And I've had multiple experiences where other mothers are just like more like love having me around the house, or my mom loves having them around the house, and like that friend is so nice. I'm so glad that you guys are close. And yeah, I think that is something I look forward to a lot as well, is like because when you get older, I mean, it's harder to make friends as adults,
It is.
And to make time for like friendships. So then when your kids have friends, and it's just a dynamic that is special to enter into your life. Yeah.
I can't wait to see Ethan if you come back this way. I remember the summer you guys rented that beach house and all got together and hadn't seen each other in a while. I was so excited. I couldn't cook enough food. And I wasn't even staying at the beach house.
Right, exactly. I was like, Mom, you got to get out of here. It's great though. Like Ethan, you just mentioned like your mom, and for example, at Elijah's wedding, I was sitting at the table at the reception with a bunch of the Wake kids, and Adam was there, and like your mom came over and was talking to all of Elijah's friends, myself, Adam, etc. And like she was asking about jobs, significant others. I mean, like the capacity and the desire to like connect with your son's friends in that way. I was sitting there and I was like, that's how my mom is. Like anytime I talk to my mom, I always kind of like poke fun at her, like, because every single time we're on the phone, it's just like a laundry list of like a checklist of like 9 or 10 friends, like how's so-and-so, like how's their job, like where are they right now, like what are they doing. I was like, Mom, I don't have any new information for you, but it kind of puts into perspective.
Have you talked to so-and-so?
Yeah.
What's Ethan doing? How's his training going? When's his next meet? What's the step after that? And he's like, I don't have information, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Ethan, your mom is the same way as me, because your friends at this point in your life, your friends and the friends you had in childhood that are still there when you go home, they are a reflection in a lot of ways of our sons.
Right.
So
100%.
We almost, when you guys graduate from college, first high school, and we can't be at every single game or every single meet, we kind of mourn that loss a little bit. And then we travel when you're in college as much as we can to watch you. But then when you graduate from college, and I know you're still competing, so Mom and Dad will make a trip to watch you, of course. Christopher's finished with that. It's almost like a mourning. Yay, he graduated. I'm so proud of him. Oh, what am I going to do with myself? So when you connect with the friends of your sons and you have a close relationship with your son, you kind of look to bond with those men and women that are so important in your son's life. It's like an extension of the group that used to be at the house after the football game or after the track meet. So I understand, I would be sitting at the table just like your mother. I would sitting there taking inventory, who's doing what, and reconnecting.
Yep. Don't get cornered by Carol at the gathering, or you'll be stuck for 15, 20 minutes.
No, that's fine. I'm sure we will have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I'm just saying for my friends, like when Chris comes over, it's like I get to relax for 15 minutes because my mom's going to be talking to somebody else, not me.
I do the same thing to Christopher.
It's kind of like that involvement. I mean, not only are you involved in like your children's friends' lives to that extent, but like that's an extension of kind of the role as a parent, because you're like the role with which you take you're an active participant in your kid's life changes over time, obviously. And like, that's just the next extension of it. So it's like, it's one of those things. I mean, we know people, and like I have friends, for example, and it's like pretty much like once they're out of high school or college or whatever, like that's it. And they don't really keep in great contact with their parents, like except for like holidays or whatever. But, I think for you, Mom, like you made the choice, like that conscious decision that like, I am a parent, forever. Like the job's never finished.
No. And I do know, parents who long to have more of a connection with their adult children. And I always say it. I tell you all the time, and tell your brother. I tell people, I'm so blessed that our relationship is continuing to evolve as
Mm-hmm.
you have grown up more and become older and invested in different things, time and energy. And now, even with Ethan's mom, she has grandchildren and daughters-in-laws. I think how you are as a parent in the beginning is how you are going to be as a parent until you take your last breath. It's
Mm-hmm.
never going to waver or change, but
Right.
it starts from the beginning. The respect that I gave you as a child, you have given me as you've gotten older as my child and as an adult, which is huge. And it's very important. And I think your family is probably the same way, Ethan.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's yeah, I mean, and now that we're getting older, I'm going to turn 30 in September, and I've been
I
away,
know.
and just, when you're in the moment in like high school or college, it goes by so fast, and you're maybe not as appreciative to your upbringing and certain things. And I've been very reflective the last year, 2 years, and my brother's getting married, and like, yeah, new additions to the family, and the nieces and the girls, and I'm just like so thankful for like my brotherhood is like the most important thing in my life, and my
Right.
relationship with my parents. But just, I wouldn't love my brothers and have those two if it weren't for my parents and the way that they
Yeah.
raised us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's such an emotional like thought process I have thinking about it right now, because I'm just so close to them, and it's really
Yeah.
special. And my
Yeah.
And
mom
you've been
loves it.
away.
Loves
Yes.
seeing they love that my boys love each other, because
Mm-hmm.
brothers
Oh,
fight,
yeah.
and there's tons of families that are split, and
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
I don't know how I would do it without my
Yeah,
family.
we've got so many friends that like they either don't keep in contact with their brothers or they actively dislike one another and they fight and everything. And I'm in the same boat with my brother John as you are with Quinn and Elijah, where it's like, I mean, that's a bond forever. And I think so much of that bedrock was laid with the environment that we were raised in and how you communicated to us from the beginning, like how important family is and how you have to respect and value the differences, right? Because like John and I, like we would butt heads as kids because our temperaments were so different and we're different people. But
Yeah.
it's kind of those are assets, right? And those are what make people unique individuals, and they should be celebrated. And like we learned that from the beginning with even just like the way that you would like how like we would like play together and the way that you would like do things with us, and it would it's kind of like equal time, and my accomplishment was his accomplishment and his accomplishment was mine, and like everything was to be celebrated. And it's really great because like it's second nature at this point. It's not like one of those things where something bad happens or something strenuous happens. It's like, okay, we have a lot of work to do to lean on one another and to develop that strength that like that bond can withstand those challenges. Like it's already there, and it started at the beginning, and it's just consistently nurtured, and it's
Hmm.
second nature at this point, and that just goes, I think, to the environment that we were raised in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that Ethan's mom went through the same thing, because I'm sure that Elijah and Quinn and Ethan are not exactly the same people.
Right.
You all have different personalities, so we have to manage those personalities. You don't want to
Hmm.
stifle one, and you certainly don't want to favor your children or put them against each other, because from a young age, I used to tell you and your brother, when you would squabble with each other or be mad at each other, you are brothers forever. And at some point in your lives, you will not have me. I won't be here. So therefore, you have each other. And this bond that you share should be passed on through the women you may marry someday and the children you may bear and have someday. That's the strength of a family. And the family is what helps you get through life. You have to have that safe zone, safe environment, the place to fall when things feel like they're crumbling around you. And it happens. You least expect it. There are bumps in the road. Anyone who tells you life is just one big glorious journey is not looking through reality. The world is a tough place. It's always going to be a tough place. So you have to have that comfort zone, that one place that you can be vulnerable. And that should be with your family, with your parents, with your siblings. That should never change. That's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. It's, um, yeah, it makes me want to have I definitely want to have multiple kids, because I wouldn't want someone to have to go through life without, siblings. It's just so
Your
important, because
best
you're right.
friends.
At some point, we all succumb to the same ending, and you lose the parents before, God willing, before your sons. That must be
Right.
there. Yeah, there are situations where, no one ever wants to leave before uh, or have their kids leave before they do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes,
you
a
want.
lot of my friends have lost their parents now, or they have one and they've lost the other. And, if you have that connection, that helps you get through it. And that's how the
Right.
family survives and lives on and continues to grow and change.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's really important. The family is important. Your siblings are so important.
Yeah.
That's why it's important that you have a relationship with a sister-in-law or a brother-in-law,
Right.
because that's who your brother or sister has chosen to be their life partner. So
Hmm.
now that's another extension of your relationship. And as you
Yeah.
get older, it changes, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, because I mean, I think Ethan, like I talk about this with you a lot, and Mom, I talk about this with you a lot too. Like as I get older, like I'm very aware of the fact that like the challenges that I face on the day to day, or we face as a family, or we face as friends, like they're bigger, more serious challenges with bigger ramifications. And it's kind of one of those things that like I have that, foundation to rely upon, and it's strong enough to withstand those things. And I know, like, Mom, your skills as a parent, for example, like you made a conscious choice to always be working on, being the best parent that you could be. And I know that there have been a lot of instances where you've kind of had to rely on that. So like speaking to that, like, are there any instances, for example, that like, were particularly difficult to get through, and like how you were able to maybe rely on that familial bond or rely on the work that you did to kind of see you through that? Like, are there any instances that stand out where it's like, being a parent is really tough, or like, being the matriarch of this family is tough, and like, how do we get through these things?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I used to tell you all the time, and your brother, I am not perfect. There is no perfect person that walks among us. So we can forget that. Moms have good days and bad days. They make good decisions, and sometimes they make kind of iffy decisions. So I never viewed myself as perfect. I always viewed myself as a work in progress. And that came into parenting too. So sometimes I would look back and think, maybe I should have handled that a little bit differently. And, our family has been through a lot of rough times.
Yeah.
And from when you were very little, and then, ongoing different patches along the way, some would have just ultimately just rocked our world and destroyed us. But you pull inward and you rely on other people. If you're feeling a little weak, you rely on, like for me, I get strength from you and your brother, because I can look to you when I'm a little weary, and just watching you and being around you fills my cup, so to speak, so that I can get my energy back and move forward. So I think it's extremely important. And I don't think anyone travels through life unscathed. I
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
really don't think that. I think it's nurturing, loving, caring, and having the tools to come out on the other side of it. And it's not about when you're a little and you are upset because you had to go to bed at 6 o'clock and you wanted to stay up till 6:30. As our children get older, the issues presented to them also get deeper and they get bigger. So as a parent, you can't always say, well, I did this, because the world isn't like it was when
Right.
I was your age. So you have to ebb and flow, and you have to continually evolve, and you have to have open discussion, especially on things where you don't agree with a
Hmm.
decision that one of your children is making. You kind of have to have patience if you think they're going down the wrong path. But I think if I didn't have the two of you, I probably would not have the strength to go through a lot of the ups and downs that I have had to go through, that our family has had to go through.
Yeah. And
I
it's
think
like,
that's true for a lot of parents.
yeah. And it's those situations that I think as people and as like family units or as sons or as mothers or parents, like you learn about strength you have that you didn't know that you have. And like, I know, Mom, you're never one to toot your own horn, but I'm gonna make you identify, like, what would you say your biggest strength is as a parent?
Oh my goodness. I think it's the ability to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the ability to listen, really listen, not be thinking of what I'm going to say when you finish your last sentence or last word in your sentence. I think it's just the ability to listen to you and your brother and some of your friends. I've even talked with them about different things, but also the burning desire to see the two of you have the lives that you should have, achieve your goals. There's a lot to be said for that. So I don't necessarily think I'm mother of the year. I will never, ever, ever agree with that. I just think that I was
Speaking of
blessed
things
with
that mothers and sons disagree on, there's one.
yes. I think I was blessed with two sons, and that I take very seriously. And being there for you as long as I am able is something that I relish. It's not a job, it's a privilege. And so that's how I view motherhood.
Yeah,
So,
as my
not
mom
mother
would
of the
say,
year.
you're in your glory with when your sons come home and are around.
Absolutely.
In your
You've been
glory,
away a
yeah.
long time, Ethan,
I know it's
from
getting
your
hard.
family with schooling and traveling like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Christopher was away for a long time too. I can sympathize with that.
Yeah, because
I
Ethan's
used,
been away just about as long
almost.
as John has been away. John has been away
yes,
for about 10 years now, 11 years.
yes. And when the boys would be coming home for the holiday, for instance, when they both lived out of state and they'd be traveling home for Christmas, the week before, I know this is silly, but I would go to the grocery store and buy all of their favorite things
Right.
and get their rooms ready. And you just
Mm-hmm.
wait. When you see the faces come back into your home, it's like this just glorious feeling. It's like they're home. You can wrap your arms around them, but the house feels different. The home feels different
Mm.
when the boys return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
my
she
mom.
looks forward to that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I can feel that here. I can just hear with you saying that. I can
Yeah.
feel it. Feel the house now and all that. It's very. Yeah. It's definitely the same exact feeling for my mom.
Do you
Um,
miss being away from your family? Because I know you've lived different places.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like I said, especially the last few years, just said with my brother having daughters, I'm like, I feel a strong sense to go back and now, yeah, to be close to them. Because,
Mm.
just because
Uncle Ethan.
Uncle Ethan, yeah, I want to be a part of their lives. I want to have a really strong connection.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm not going to have kids soon that I know of. I don't have a girlfriend or anything. So it's,
Right.
marriage, everything's down the road. So,
hmm
but yeah, it makes me, and I'm just so, I'm proud of my parents too for everything they've done for me. And like I tell Chris a lot too, like I am definitely gonna move home because I don't want to be selfish and live away. Like it feels very
Yeah.
selfish of me to be to one like ignore the fact that I have a family dynamic that people would die for and really
hmm
and really appreciate, and I just don't want to take that for granted. And so yeah, it's tough. It's always
Yeah.
I'm always
I'm
thinking
sure it
about it,
is.
and
But
it's
also,
it's a
yeah,
paradigm. It's tough.
yeah. And at the same time, like you just said, like it feels kind of selfish. And I guarantee you that every single member of your family would tell you that it's completely unselfish that you're
Yes.
chasing your dream and you're out there doing something that you love to do.
But my mom
Yeah.
says like me is like I don't want to. She says she doesn't want to be selfish and tell me to come home. You know what I
Right.
mean?
That's
So
right. I say the same thing.
it's like I want you home, but I know you're doing stuff. Like I don't want to tell you
Right.
one thing, and yeah. So it's tough. I definitely want to move closer, but now I've sprouted roots everywhere I've went, so I could, I can see myself living in different areas for different reasons, but family is still at the top, and like I said, I wouldn't want to waste it.
That your parents are so proud of you because you have been pursuing your dream with their love and support. Your whole family has been behind you.
Right.
And so if you didn't go away to college and then to a different college and now where you are now, all of those life experiences have continued to help you become the man you are today, which from a mom's perspective, and I'm sure your mom, you just can't help but be so proud because it's not easy to go out there on your own. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And so as much as you miss them, and I'm sure they miss you too, the time will come where you'll either settle closer to or not too far away, and as your life begins to grow and change too. But right now, you're focusing and you're where your mother would want you to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the questions, and I guess we can wrap it up and move to on a lighter note. We need a good Chris story. One of the, something that.
Oh my goodness.
A story like as I would say, like a story that I wouldn't know to ask about. Something that is funny or embarrassing is good.
And Mom, the books are open. You have carte blanche here.
I know.
God knows
there's
I've
so
shared
many.
enough.
There's just so many.
Right. You've seen it all. You've been through it all. So take
know,
your pick.
I know. It's just him, It's just Christopher. Well, I think, the jokes in our family are, Christopher for a long time wanted to be the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided he was. And so he used to tell everyone he was born first.
How old was he when he was saying this?
He was Christopher. I think you were in
18
preschool, first grade.
23.
23.
I'm still saying.
No, I think you were like in preschool. I was born first, and we just let him run with that for a long time until his older brother finally said, "I am so tired of hearing you say that. You were not even born first." But
That's
Christopher
really
was
funny.
a perfectionist. He still is,
right.
and a workaholic, which he still is,
right.
And man of very little patience, which he still is, but he works on that. We'll give him that. He works on that. So when he was little, I used to build a fort in the living room and bring books, and I used chairs to keep the blanket suspended over our heads.
A little blanket fort, just drape it over the top of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we would go in and read books, and Christopher was almost about 2 years old. He decided to climb on the roof of the fort, which very quickly he got up there and fell backwards and split his head open on the radiator. Let's see. When we moved into our new house, we were very busy. Christopher was 2. He had just 2 years and 2 months old. And everyone was very busy. And I looked around. There were moving people, family members. Everyone was helping us. I looked around, and all of a sudden I said to the moving company, "Has anyone seen my son?" And he's like, "No." And the front door was ajar. And there he was running down the street with just his shorts on, no shirt, nothing on his feet, just running down the street. Christopher, so we had to put extra locks up high where he couldn't reach and lock him in the house because he was always trying to get out. And then
that's funny.
He didn't like my mother. When he was born, he didn't like his Nana. And we went to Disney one year, and Christopher, we had to barricade the bedroom because Christopher would get out the door during the night and go running throughout the forest because we were in the forest. So we barricaded it, but he still found a way out and fell going down the stairs. He tripped and fell down the stairs and cut his head open again. And as he was walking, he wouldn't avoid my mother at all costs, but he was always with my father. As we were walking down this long road, he let go of my dad's hand, walked over and took my mother's hand for the very first time, and they became best friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah.
That probably made Nana very happy.
Yes, Nana very happy. And then, little things when he was in high school and told me he was going one place, but he was actually going another place. And
so let's set the record straight. Like you probably always knew when I was lying to you, right? You just kind of gave me a
How easy is it to tell as a parent?
Oh, I could tell with him. Yeah, Christopher.
It has to be so easy.
Yeah, it is. It's so easy because he's so uncomfortable to do it that you don't even have to ask him anything. His eyes.
Well, that's because I was raised to be
expression.
such a strong, upstanding, honest young man by my mother. And obviously, as you get older, like the things like, oh, like, hey, who broke this? Or like, hey, like, where are you going? Like the things change that like we try to lie about as kids. And it's like, oh yeah, we're going over, like, I'm going to go sleep at Sean's house. But like I was out like drinking somewhere or something. And
yes.
Yeah, you always knew, huh?
Yes. And all those, we're going to Providence Place Mall. We're going to see a midnight show. I said, no, you're not. Everyone else is going. No, they're not. Yes, they are. I'll be the only one that can't go because you won't let me go. And meanwhile, I've already called the other mothers and no one was going. But Christopher was the kind of kid where when he asked to do something, if the answer was no, he would argue with you at least maybe a half hour. As long as you were present, he would continue to plead his case.
The exact
my oldest son,
yeah.
My oldest son, if he said, Mom, can I do XYZ? And I would say, no, John. He'd say, okay, and go back to where he came from and read a book. Christopher, hands on hips. You're not listening to me. Let me tell you why I need to do this. Or
so this
everyone
is where Chris developed his voice.
I should have been a prosecutor.
Yes, we used to laugh about that. You say this kid's going to be a lawyer someday. He's going to be arguing in court until the judge says we got to go home. It's supper time. But yeah,
one more thing.
Yeah,
that's funny.
He's always got something. He was very good at arguing his point. He did not win any of them.
Didn't stop me from trying though.
Yeah, he tried for 3 months about why he should have a cell phone.
I didn't get one.
We get cell phones when we are freshmen in high school because then you're after school for practice and you have to call me for a ride. You don't need a cell phone. And then when he got a cell phone, it was only texting. No, it was only phone calls.
Yes,
no texting.
And I wanted to text because all my friends were texting.
It was upset.
Everybody's doing it. Yeah.
Everybody.
There's a sweet side to Christopher too. A very sweet side. He's a sweet kid. So I had surgery when I was 39. So Christopher was going into first grade. And I was in the hospital and his father was taking he and his brother to go watch the New England Patriots practice. And they got all the way to the practice and Christopher and his brother refused to participate in this wonderful, fun event because they wanted to come to the hospital to see their mother.
Really? Aww.
Yes.
That's pretty special.
When I was home, I was recuperating, and Christopher came to me and said, I really want to be a big brother. I would like a baby, you to have another baby. He said, because I want to be an older brother like John. And I said, honey, Mommy can't do that anymore because I had surgery and what I need to have a baby, to carry a baby, I don't have anymore. He left the room, came back and said, they made some new discoveries in science and they are using pig's hearts and they are using somebody's eye and they can transplant. So I'm going to investigate to find the part you need so that I can be a big brother and you can have another baby.
Talk about not taking no for an answer.
Right,
I started young.
He was a good kid, Ethan. He was a good little boy. He was a good kid, but he was very mischievous. This little kid at 6:00 every night, don't ask me why, he would come down the hallway and run circles around the kitchen table. Just run. No words, He would just zoom, yeah, like a dog does. He'd zoom, 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 zoom. Right, Chris?
Oh yeah, I do recall that as a
Yes.
child.
That is
And he
hilarious.
didn't know his name.
Oh,
When he
really?
was in, he used to tell people, my name is Han, Anthony, Helona, Christopher. He used to say, my name is Christopher Han Anthony Helona Jr., and don't you forget it. That is
Not
not
my
his
name.
name.
I took my brother's name and I just added Christopher to the top of it while butchering my own brother's name.
And
I don't
we
know
used to tell
why.
him all the time, Christopher, that's
Don't
not your
forget
name.
it.
Yes, it is. He told everyone that. Everyone.
Kids say the darnest things, I guess.
Yeah. Those are the things we have to look forward to, Ethan, if and when we have children of our
Someday.
own.
Oh my goodness, that's so good. So what last thing, I guess, what is one of the more prouder moments you've had as a mom throughout Chris's life? And it could be it could be high school, it could be college, it could be now, but what's one really proud moment that you have?
Aside from being the guest on episode 164 of the
Yeah,
Grunge Bible podcast.
When I was diagnosed with cancer,
Yeah.
unexpectedly, blew me out of the water. I thought I needed my gallbladder out, but they found out I had kidney and adrenal gland cancer. And so Christopher was my rock because John lives in North Carolina. Christopher took me for 15, 16 months. Christopher took me to every single appointment, every single treatment. I was sick. I was crying. I was down. I was everything. And he always knew without me even telling him. And I was so proud of the way that he handled himself for the year and a half that we went through all of this. He's always just been my rock with this. And I couldn't have gotten through it without him. And I know it was a lot for him to carry on his shoulders, but he was so positive and so loving. And he'd just say, it's all right, mom. You can cry. You can be sick. You can do whatever you need to do. You know, he did all the driving between working, going to the gym, having a life that he should have at his age. He was taking care of me. So I've been proud of Christopher for many, many accomplishments, academic, athletic, awards he's received, the way he takes care of his grandparents, the way he treats people, and how he loves his friends. But that day that I had to tell him that I was sick and I didn't know what that was going to be, he must have grown up about 10 years right in front of me. And from that point forward, I always tell him there is not enough time on God's green earth for me to give back to you for everything you've gotten me through and given to me. So I'm just very proud of the man that he is becoming. And I know he'll make a great husband and a great dad. And I admire the fact that he's a good friend. You know, that's really important.
I have to say, and I've made it 164 episodes without crying on the Grunge Bible podcast. That might change today, but all of those things, like, you know, the things that you're most proud of me for, like, there's a direct line between those qualities and the qualities that you have. Like, I mean, we've gone through so much as a family. In our relationship, we've gone through so much, and like, I don't have words to describe like my admiration for your strength in crisis and your ability to, despite all of the negative things that can happen to you or the people that you care about, to still like wake up the next day and see the good, you know, in the sun coming up, and see the good in people, and your capacity to just be positive, and just completely have unwavering strength. And I don't know how your heart is as big as it is. And it's just, I don't have words to describe it. And everything in me that is good is really from you, and you're my hero, and you're my best friend. So
Right back at you, sweetheart. God blessed me to be a mom, and it's something I take very seriously. But you are your own person, honey. I'm just now sitting in the bleachers watching it happen. So I love you.
I love you.
This is incredible. And as third party, I was going to say this at the end, no matter what the conversation went, but yeah, seeing your guys' relationship, like the last 2 years and through all of this has been really just amazing. And yeah, Chris, I mean, you've always like have stepped up and been driving and never complained about it. It was never an option to not do it either. And just seeing you guys' relationship grow and always being there for each other, whether it's randomly running into each other in the grocery store, but it's
yes, you've been on the phone with him.
Yeah,
it's always my mom.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, but it's been special, and I think that your guys' bond is always admirable. It's always something that I really appreciated about my friendship with Chris is seeing another really strong relationship with family. So
yeah, and Christopher has wonderful friends, Ethan, and you are certainly up there on that list. You have to come back to Rhode Island so I can see you.
Yeah,
I will.
I have to see you.
That's this summer. Yeah, I know it's funny. You keep saying Chris isn't the most patient person, but I think I've made him become patient again because he has to be patient with me. I definitely test him. So
Nana and Papa tune in to the javelin meet that you are going to be participating in that come on our television. So we sit around the TV rooting for Ethan. Chris always tells us how we can get it. And so you are part of our family as well.
I love to hear it. That's awesome.
That's amazing. Mom, I can't thank you enough for coming on to this silly little podcast that Ethan and I have been doing. I've been looking forward to doing this for a while. I'm glad that you were open to doing it. And this was the most fun I've had. And as we wrap up, because this is a music podcast, we typically close our shows with our songs of the week. So what that is I pick a song, Ethan picks a song, and then if our guests are good enough, we ask them for a song. And this is your chance to impart. If there's one song that you want everybody to listen to, because I have a feeling that today, people aren't going to listen to Chris's suggestion or Ethan's suggestion. They're going to want yours.
Well, your mom's not a grunge listener, although
I know.
I'm a Motown girl from way back when.
It can be whatever you'd like.
Yeah, it could be absolutely anything.
Goodness. I have to say one of my songs that I listen to a lot is I Will Survive.
Oh yeah.
That's a big one for me. So yeah, that would be, if you're down, you just have to listen to that song.
I Will Survive.
That's amazing. I like that a lot. And you do survive. We sit here. I mean, you're a year and a half cancer free, and you're strong, and you're awesome, and you're young.
I'm back to the gym. I'm not young. Back to the gym. Ethan, I'm lifting weights.
Nice. That's awesome. Family that lives together stays together.
Exactly. Yes. Got to get her into the clean and jerk next.
Yeah.
So, what are your songs, guys?
Oh man.
Well, I guess Chris, do you have one off the top of your head, or I can find one? Of course.
I will. I'll choose a song. So, Mom, we actually we saw this song live together when we went to Springsteen on Broadway in 2021. He has a song that is called "The Wish," and he wrote it basically as a love letter to his mom, and it's how beautiful. Despite all of the bad that she endured and the struggles that their family went through, she was always willing to, as Bruce would say, put on her dancing shoes and go down to the music hall. So that's my song of the week, is going to be the Wish by Bruce Springsteen. And Mom, I know I've sent that to you a few times, and
it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, it's just one of those songs that when I listen to it, I think of you and feel close to you. So that's my song of the week.
That's a good one. I think I'm gonna. I think I'm going to go with something that's probably on the list already, but I'm going to go with the Creed song. I'm going to go with My Sacrifice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because that's what it takes to be a really good parent, is your sacrifice. And then as well to be a good son. Sometimes you need to sacrifice some things. So I'm going with my Sacrifice by Creed.
That's fantastic. That is a good trio of songs right there.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. Mom, happy Mother's Day. I think I'm going to see you in like a half hour after this anyways.
Okay.
So
that's fine.
So that'll be great. I'll give you a call once we're done doing this episode. But thank you so much for doing this. Like, this was super fun.
Thank you for having me. I thought he was kidding, Ethan, when he said it.
Hell no.
I really would like to do one with Ethan's mom.
That would be cool. We'll have to do that.
Maybe, next time we'll have everybody on.
Absolutely.
She'll be like, she'll say no. She's, I'm not a public speaker. I can't. And she's gonna say no. We'll bring my dad. Will be on for Father's Day, I think.
Absolutely.
After the way this went, we have to.
Yes, you do. You do.
But I would love to have that. Like I said, we'll just get you guys in the same room together.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's about time. Our boys have been friends forever.
I know.
10 years now, really. So
long time.
Crazy. Yeah, Ethan, I met you in April of 2014, so we just passed the 10-year mark.
Oh,
so
wow.
You're my host on my recruiting trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mom,
right.
We met Ethan at the same time.
Yes.
in Chip Brundage's truck, we picked you up.
Yes. We went to that restaurant, that sushi place. In Pittsburgh.
He wanted to see if you took chances.
Yeah, exactly. Passed the test. It's all going to be about rhinos and sushi.
I remember that.
And lions.
Ethan, please wish your mother a happy Mother's Day for me as well, and all the moms out there.
I will.
Make sure you all call your moms and tell them how much you love them.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. This is your final notice to go and make sure because this comes out on Monday. So if you did not see or talk to your mom, please make the effort today.
Because it's not Ethan, it's not you and me saying to do that. It's Carlene Salona. So you got to listen to her.
Moms knows how much it means.
Know best.
Yep, she knows how much it means here and that.
Yes, call your grandparents if you are blessed to still have them in your life. Give them a call.
Absolutely. Well, Mom, thank you once again. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Love you both.
Thank you so much. Bye. Yep, love you.
Bye-bye.
Rock and roll, everybody. That's another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast.